So, intellectual property refers to the creations of one's own intellect. So, when you are using your own knowledge or intellect and creating something, or it can be an invention, it can be anything, it can be music, it can be a drawing, it can be a photograph or anything. So, when you are using your own intellect and producing something, that is called intellectual property. So intellectual property rights are the rights which protects this intellectual property. So intellectual property rights will guarantee the creators or the owners of intellectual property an exclusive right to use them for their own commercial benefit or for the purpose of anything. For the benefit of commercial, no individual can use those inventions or the products or for any other purposes. And intellectual property rights will protect this intellectual property of individuals. The intellectual property rights, if you see, they are categorized into two kinds. The one is industrial property, and second one is copyrights. Okay, industrial property is again categorized into four types. First one is patents, second one is trademarks, third one is industrial designs, fourth geographical indications. Then if you see the copyrights, copyrights are granted for original, literary, artistic, dramatic works, music recordings, cinematograph, films. So copyrights subsist in all these works. The importance of IP was first recognized in Paris Convention, which was held in 1883, which recognized the importance of the protection of industrial property. The second one is Berne Convention, which is for the protection of copyrights. So this WIPO, World Intellectual Property Organization, is a one. There are many nations which are members of this WIPO, which is looking after the world intellectual property rights. Copyrights are granted for original, literary, artistic, music, sound recordings, and also the cinematograph films. The copyrights are granted for lifetime of the author. Along with that, in addition to that, it is granted for 60 years after the death of the author. So it is counted from the beginning of the next calendar year in which the author dies. From there, it is counted as a 60 years. Copyright Act was enacted in the year 1957, but the act came into force from January 1958. According to the Copyright Act, the author is the one who is considered as the first owner of the copyright. In case the death of the author, copyright owner, generally the legal heirs will become the owner of the copyright. But because the author already died, it is being counted from the next calendar year, another 60 years. So the legal heirs will have the copyrights in their hand for 60 years. So the copyrights are given in all these things. First one is literary works. Literary works includes poems, novels, books, and plays. Second one is music. All those films, if you see devotional songs, whatever, they will have their own music. So all those musics which are composed by the music directors will have their own rights. The third one is dramatic works. Fourth is artistic works, for example, drawings, paintings, photographs, sculptures, etc. All they will have their own artistic works, the copyrights for their artistic works. Then architectural designs also part of the copyrights. Then the producers of the films. producers of the cinematograph films and also the sound recordings, etc. They will have the copyrights. So for the films, it is 60 years. Original literary works, it is 60 years plus lifetime of the author plus 60 years. And for original music recordings, etc., it is lifetime of the author, then another 60 years. Then artistic works also, excluding the photographs. Photographs are granted for 60 years. Other than that, it will be lifetime of the author, and also the other 60 years is granted. So the first case, if you see original literary, artistic, original literary, dramatic works, music works, etc., then it is the exclusive copyright is given for them, and based on that, they can reproduce the work in any material form. They can the authors or the persons, the creators may perform their work in public. They can issue copies of their work for getting some benefit out of it, and the translation of their work can be done. Adaptation of the work in any other form can also be done. The works can be communicated using any medium by the owner of this copyright, in case of literary works, music works, and dramatic works. Then, if you see, in case of artistic works like drawings, paintings, photographs, etc., the photographs, drawings can be published by an individual. It can be exhibited in any anywhere. They can reproduce the work in any material form, and the paintings, drawings, any other things can be used in other films also. Then it can be adapted into any other form. Then, if it is a cinematograph film, generally the producer of the film may exhibit the film anywhere. Then he can make copy of the film. He can take photographs out of the film, etc. The soundtracks which are used in one film, because the owner is a producer, he can also use the sound records in any other films or in any other programs. Then the producer of the film may communicate about the film, which means the promotion of the film can be done by the producer. So he can make copies of the film, he can perform, exhibit the film, he can make photographs out of the film, he can also communicate the film in public, and also he can use the soundtracks which are composed for the film in any other programs or in any other films. Then, in case of any other sound recording, etc., the sound recordings can be used in producing any other soundtracks, and the sound recording also can be used in music compositions. And the sound recordings, the owner can be the copyright owner of the sound recordings also can perform the work. They can exhibit their work, and also they can use the work in cinematograph films, and that work can be communicated for the public. So here, if you see, these are the four things which the author of the owner of the copyright may do. For example, if it is a film or the sound recordings can be used in music compositions. It can be used in films. It can be performed. It can also be maybe promoted using the medium, any other medium of communication. If it is a film, the film can be copied. The film can be out of the film. The producer may take pictures of it, and that can be sold. The sound recordings he can use in the programs, etc. The film can be communicated by the producer. If it is an artistic work, generally the artistic works like paintings, drawings, etc., that can be uh, published by the copyright owner. That can make he is the one who can make copies of it. He can you maybe give it on hire to use it in the cinematograph films, etc., and the adaptation of the work can be done. Then if it is a literary music works, etc., then for example, if it is a novel or book published by an author, that can be adapted into another form, and based on the book or novel, a film also can be made, a skit or a play can also be made by others or by the same author. If somebody else is making the film, then he has to obtain the copyrights from the concerned owner of the book. So here the literary work can be produced and it can be adapted into any other form. The translation of the book or novel can also be done. The things can be published by the concerned owner of the copyright. So, in original music recordings, literary works like books, novels, poems, etc., and music works, dramatic works, etc., the copyright subsists for lifetime of the author. In addition to that, when the author of or the owner of the copyright dies, from the next calendar year, the 60 years time is being given to the owners of the copyright. So the copyright owner, in the same way like patents, the copyrights can be sold to somebody else by maybe getting some money out of their works. We have copyrights office in New Delhi, and there are some regional offices to issue copyright certificates, etc. There, the copyrights office is headed by the registrar of copyrights. He's the one he issues the certificate of copyrights for the owners of the copyright. Then you also have the broadcasting rights. One more thing. Generally, you may be knowing about the different television channels, etc. They may be producing films, serials, or short films. They may be producing news broadcasts, etc. So those are called broadcasting rights. Generally, the broadcasting rights are granted for 25 years. So from the date of first publishing the work. So if it is television channel which made a documentary, and if it is being transmitted for the audience, then they can reproduce the work and they can transmit for another 25 years. But after that, the copyright lapses, and any other individual can copy that, and that can be maybe performed or transmitted in their own channels. So that is broadcasting rights which lasts for 25 years.